shining a beacon on the bazaar.
Hey, Arkid, how's it going there?
Aye, not bad, not bad. A little bit of an issue though, Arkid, little bit.
Well, I noticed you're looking out the window there, peering out. What's happening?
Well, mainland's gone.
Has
It's
it?
gone, washed away or something, I don't know where it is.
Not again. Bloody hell.
It's getting more frequent though, isn't it? You know what I mean? Every couple of months it's just gone again.
Well, that's the problem, you see. That's with changing tides, land moving, things like this.
There's all shit, everything's moving at the moment around the world, isn't it? Even Wales.
Yeah, Wales, earthquake in Wales. There was a little earthquake. I must admit
that could have set it off a little bit.
It could have been. Maybe so, you see. I always imagine like all the people in Turkey reading the news report of like Wales' earthquake and thinking,
like,
fuck off.
You were reporting that. You're fucking reporting that.
But that's the issue we've got, you see, sometimes is things do move around, things change, things shift. But luckily at Kraken Cove, we're quite lucky, you see, because we have a strong anchor point to the world.
It is, isn't it? We never go anywhere. Everything else does.
Well, that's why on the West Shore we've got the big winch.
Yeah.
We've got the big winch, so all I'll do now, you see, is like, I'll pop down later on, activate the big winch, and that'll haul mainland UK back towards the cove.
If Pete can find it, though, you've got to put Hook in his boat, and then he goes sailing off, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's a point.
Oh, take so-and-so, what's that big fatty called again that hangs
Thor.
around? Thor, that's it. Send Thor.
Take his wife for him.
Together they'll be alright, I bet. That's a done deal.
I think together, you see, Thor's pretty good at finding the UK, isn't he? So maybe together we will. But I don't really like to leave Thor and Robot Pete together.
Not together. If they're working, they're alright. Leisure time, ooh, no.
I noticed Thor was putting a bit of weight on. I thought she up stick first.
I think Pete's all blanks anyway, but he's all cheese, isn't he, now, you know?
The special brew comes out. But no, because this is Kraken Cove, the podcast that shines a beacon onto the bizarre. And I'm Matt.
I'm a Benny.
So today we're going to be having a little look out towards mainland UK. All over the place, though, to be honest. We're having a little nosy around. Again, we're having a bit of a freewheeling episode. Not a special one.
Yeah.
We're just going to have a look at a good few things.
I like that,
going to be shining the light around. Obviously, we can't shine the light onto the mainland because we can't see bloody thing.
Exactly.
You know?
But lots of sea. I like this sea.
Well, that's it. We'll have a little bit of just shine it around, see what we can see what the light picks out, and these are the subjects we will cover. So for now, what we'll do is we'll send Rowboat on his little mission, go hook out in the mainland, and perhaps we'll have a little look at some shifting sands and soil and earth or something. And
that
see what's
sounds
going on.
interesting. Different, Arkid. Different.
Yeah. So let's cast the light.
And do it, Arkid.
So the first boat out of the harbour, Arkid, of course, is going to be Robot Pete. He's gone already. So second one out of the harbour is this is a weird little story. This, and you'll be sort of associated with it a little bit, right? So this is a man on the Isle of Wight, and he's called George Gardiner.
Nice.
And he's got himself a little property in Luckholm. I think it's called Luckholm, not Luchholm.
And that's on the Isle of Wight.
Isle of Wight. That's it. You know what I mean? Issue he's had though is his land, it's on the coastline, it's on the coast, right? It's starting to collapse into the sea.
Oh, a bit of corrosion.
Yeah, well, he's 82-year-old, is old George Gardner.
That must be sad, that, though. You got your lovely, nice house by the sea and it's just get washed away.
So, and this is a little bit of a subject. The reason we sort of cover this is because this is a subject close to me and Benny's heart. Is because all our little holidays when we were kids, sort of thing, were at the east coast of England, you know. So it's like, and it's one of the fastest corroding coastlines in the whole of the UK. Some even say perhaps one of those in the world.
Is
it?
it?
Yeah,
because you could literally see it holiday by holiday, like fields disappearing.
Yeah, well, weirdly enough, I thought it was interesting. We did mention, I think it was last week about sharks. We did mention about Will Self, the writer.
Yes,
and he did a wonderful walk around the entire coastline of Britain.
Wow, yeah.
And the reason he did it was because he knew by the time he finished the walk, where he'd walked before had already corroded into the sea. God. Nobody can do that walk ever again in the history of humanity.
Wow.
Which I thought was a very interesting concept.
That's inspiring, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, so when these things sort of corrode off into the water, you know what I mean, this land breaks up, it crumbles down, it's like a muddy clay soil sort of thing, you know, off that coastline. It's changing and dissolving into the sea all the time. But that's just nature, that's how things go, you know, we're always putting up concrete defences or seawalls and things like that, you know, to try and stop these things happening. I sort of say, just kind of let it go.
Oh, your house, though. I've been chucking out boulders in or something, just trying to do something.
Yeah, I suppose we're quite fortunate here at the Cove, you see, because the Cove is a rock, known as a rock lighthouse. It's where we're actually on solid granite. Yeah. That's the rock we're on, so there's no washing other way for thousands, if not millions of years. You know, so we're safe as literally sea houses. So you know, but a lot of places which have been sort of like built up on the coast. But it's something about, I like the idea that there's something it's not there forever. I love that nature sort of takes away. You know.
Yeah, true.
But old George Gardner, he decided to say, fuck it, I'm staying.
Wow.
So there's all these footage of him already sort of like trying to get into his own house. He has to sort of clamber over all these collapsed roads.
He has to swim to his front door.
Not far off.
Oh,
You
God.
know, everything's at a little bit of a tilt. I think it's been a broken pipe, so water's kind of eroded, got underneath everything. It's eroded things, so it's sunk a bit. So the house is an absolute wreck.
And could it just collapse on him then, or what?
Yeah, he could just go.
I thought they'd like arrest him or
Can you
something.
imagine sleeping on a night in it?
Oh no!
Well, this is it. I think that's what they did do for a while. They just put barriers to a lot of other houses and they kind of and just moved them somewhere else.
Yeah.
But George has decided to stay, and that's really I mean, there's not an awful lot more to the story than that. But
Watch
it's more
this space,
it's
isn't
more
it,
than
really?
space, but it's for me, it's more of a concept and it's something to discuss. Really, the idea of, like I say, the ephemeral feeling of these things are here one day, gone the next. You know, what do we cling on to? What do we leave? Because there's a famous hotel in Scarborough. Do you remember seeing that?
No.
There was a cliff-top hotel in Scarborough. I think it was in the late 80s, about 88, 89. And there'd been a few big storms. And the cliff washed away, and everyone's realised, oh shit, tons more of the cliff had washed away.
Yeah.
So everyone evicted from the hotel really quickly, and everyone just basically watched from the shoreline as the entire hotel washed into the sea.
You're joking?
Yeah,
wow.
big hotel, yeah.
Just collapsed. Wow, that must have been a right sight.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
So it was big and it washed him. But then again, this happens a lot. You know, all you have to do is look on YouTube or any of the channels and see stuff. You'll see stuff washing in the sea. It occurs.
I quite like it with his age as well. He's just like, nah, if it goes, I'll go with it. And it's like, wow.
I mean, it could be like almost like an aquatic version of Up. Down.
Yeah, he just turns into a seaman.
Yeah, well, that's it. Maybe if you just reinforce the floorboards and things.
Yeah, it just floats off.
It just floats off. It'd be quite good, really. I know that's what they've done in Venice, haven't they? Put massive floats underneath a lot of the buildings.
Right.
Huge air pockets. Or I don't know whether it's just air or what gas they've used or something.
Yeah.
But basically, they've floated a lot of these amazing villas and stuff, so that as the water rises or sinks, it goes with it.
Oh, fascinating.
So I think that's a little bit interesting, you know. But are we clinging on to things that can never survive? Who knows?
I like it making it last like that, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an inspiring story. Watch this space. Oh, good luck to him. Good luck to him. He needs it.
Yeah.
Bless him.
Now here's a subject you brought up last week.
Ooh.
Now this fascinated me because it's not often there's a Benny can sort of bamboozle him out. And you bamboozled me.
I can't remember last week at all.
You never can, kid, like a goldfish.
What is it?
If you remember, you mentioned to me about the idea, you know, like the Belgian Congo. And
I was thinking the dance.
What dance?
The Congo.
Congo.
I didn't talk about a dance last week. The Belgium's doing it. Shit! Wow! Yes, the Congo. Yeah, and the kids with the
using them as alligator or crocodile.
That's right.
Bait.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it true?
It's true.
Oh, the mucky bastard!
So I've looked into this, and there's a deep, deep history of this occurring.
A deep history.
There's a deep history of this occurring.
Oh,
so you're 100% right. And it's not just the Belgians.
Right.
So if you haven't listened, actually what we're talking about various bits and bats and bobs last week about sort of sharks and crocodiles and people being inhumane and terrible. And Ben mentioned the idea that there was in the Belgian Congo, in about the sort of 1900s and before, 1890s, 1900s, there was records of the Belgian occupiers, the colonists, using African babies as bait to catch crocodiles, or just to sort of feed to crocodiles for sport. I can't remember which one was the subject you referred to.
I just saw pictures of two toddlers, with ropes round them,
Right.
in the Congo, and they were the bait. You couldn't see a croc yet, It was like,
Right.
oh shit.
Right, well, this is some, and I was absolutely sort of like bamboozled by this. I just thought, bloody hell, fire, this is a bit serious, So I thought, well, better have a look into it, and it's true.
Oh my god.
Awful, but true.
Yeah.
So basically, what seemed to have occurred was that there was a presumption at the time that the crocodile, or the crocodilian, or saurian, as they called it then.
Saurian.
A saurian, so as in dinosaur, so it's like sort of like terrible lizard.
Yeah.
They really saw them as a sort of like as a almost like a dinosaur reptile monster. Was their kind of reference. So they would call them saurians. And but really, obviously, dinosaurs, any of that kind of thing. And they thought or presumed that the crocodiles themselves preferred black people to eat.
Wow.
They thought they saw it as a natural occurrence that they're not going to really go for white people because they're not used to eating white people. There was a school of thought that they preferred black
Madness.
people.
Absolutely.
That was their sort of taste in things. Which is fucking terribly racist.
Isn't it? It's just mad.
But there was this time, at that time, it was a great time or horrible time of presumptive thought. Yeah. People were sort of looking at things and questioning and wondering, why is this happening? What's that for?
And you could just make any shit up, couldn't you? Really?
You could. There was an awful lot of that mindset of just make any old shit up and it goes. Yeah. And people think, well, that's right then.
Yeah,
this is it. We're in a little bit of this now if we're not careful, because with the internet, people will sort of say things.
And they'll just believe it straight away.
Absolutely right. People, but you can say something and it becomes. I mean, recently I was talking yet again on one of the other subjects I discuss quite a lot, which is stone carvings, rocks, and things like this. And we were looking at a particular strange carving, which was two triangular shapes on a slab of rock. And this slab of rock was filled with rainwater. Yeah. And this commentator on Instagram was saying, look at this amazing carving at so-and-so site, it's absolutely wonderful. And when it's filled with rain, these carvings become wonderful sky mirrors. And it's like, whoa, let's pump the brakes.
Yeah.
And now she said that on there, and I've seen other people referring to sky mirrors and all this sort of stuff, and I've looked at sort of followed it along, and basically it's chances to see the stars and things like this through these reflected lights in water. Yes, it could be true. Yeah. Possibly. We don't know that.
Could be for blood.
It could be for blood. It could be for, I don't know, herbs.
Yeah,
it could be something to feed birds from.
Yes.
We do not fully know. So to presume this and jump to these conclusions... I read an amazing book. It's like the history of Adel Church. It's an amazing... Written about 1880 by a vicar. And it's one of the few books of that age that
fucking shit you read. Where do you get it? I don't understand your books. I love reading, but you read some shit, you do. You really do.
If you saw my book pile at the moment,
it's so bizarre.
Well, maybe we'll have a little talk about books in a minute.
Yes.
But this particular book was amazing because this vicar basically just completely went off on one about presumption of what certain carved rocks in the local area were for. And he conjured up these amazing scenes of blood sacrifice. Wow. Scenes very similar to King Kong, where they're all drumming and running about.
You know what he's spanking over, don't you, dirty vicar?
Very much. Yeah, well, that's why he was basically getting very...
they're all naked.
Well, it's devil worship was his thing,
right.
And that was his thing where you'll find a lot of your hellfire and brimstone vicars and preachers discussing things of like devil worship because it's so very real to them mentally. But it's thrilling.
Yes,
it's incredibly thrilling.
The forbidden fruit in it for him.
That's it. So he's talking about these horrible scenes, and you're thinking, Yeah, as in you said, steady on, steady.
Little temple there.
Yeah,
Stop
he got
it.
too giddy, did he? Yes, I think it's Simpson, George Simpson, I think it's called. Reverend Simpson, he wrote this book, and it's astonishing. Yeah. But he did do some great archaeological work in the things he did uncover and find.
Yeah, he just got too giddy with his fantasies.
Yeah, and I actually got a weird opportunity I did get to go to Adol Church myself with some Scandinavian archaeologists.
When did you making this shit up? When did you do that?
I have photographic proof of it, yeah.
Is it an old church?
It's insanely good.
Is it?
We're going to do a field trip to Kraken.
We always say this, never do it. Let's actually do it.
We're going to do this. Well, it's only sort of like 5 miles down the road. It's incredible.
Yeah, I'm well up for
It's surrounded by the most insane carved heads you'll ever see.
Ooh.
There's Neolithic remains in the grounds of it.
Oh, fantastic.
It's such an ancient church, and the history around it is astonishing. The things we've uncovered about this church is amazing.
Wow.
But while I was there, these Scandinavian archaeologists were there, and they believed they'd found, or I was invited to go with them as it happens, they'd found some of the original beams from about 1200.
Yeah.
So you know, sort of like 11th century sort of beams, sort of in the roof, and they were carved in a Scandinavian style.
Yeah.
And that's what he was really interested by. Why is this carving of this style in this particular church?
Did he find out anything?
He's working on it now. He's still working on the idea. But we got to look into an ancient barn that was attached to it as well.
Wow.
And what I found incredibly interesting was he got super excited because one of the archaeologists there said, look what I found. One of the beams up in the cellar, up in the attic, was burned.
Right.
There's burn marks on the beams. And he started photographing it like mad. I said, well, why are you photographing that? And he says, oh, well, these burn marks were done almost to ward off fire. So once they've actually fitted them in, because it looked like somebody just held a cigarette lighter to this beam, and I thought that's what somebody had done at some point. Because no, this was done when the carpenters had been in. Everything was finished. By casting a flame across the beams, almost like warded off any fire spirits or potential for burning in future. Yeah. And it almost proved to the owner of the barn then, look, we have tested it for fire, and the whole thing hasn't gone up.
Wow, we're that confident with it, and it's that sod's law in it, knock on wood type of thing. Give it a bit of fire, now it gets rid of it later.
That's it. God, so that as a roundabout way of saying what we're discussing there is the fact that you come up with an unfound rumour straight away, like the Reverend Simpson did about blood bathing maniacs leaping around on the moors of the Yorkshire, and claiming there's sky mirrors. If you come up with an unfound theory nowadays, it can just run and run and run. Yeah. You've got to be very, very careful. As such, very same in Africa and America and India at the time, these presumptive ideas that,
we're on about crocodiles, are they? What the fuck are we talking about?
Oh, we wheel around, our kid. We wheel around. We get around. And as such, there was a presumption, an idea that the crocodiles or the saurians had a taste for darker meat, as it were. Wow. And which is, as you say, completely insane. So where do we go to? We read in the Richmond Dispatch and the Record Union newspapers, respectively from July and September 1894. So this is a story which was in both newspapers. How British sportsmen hunt crocodiles in India.
Oh, God.
We used to have a great sport in India, going out after crocodiles with Hindu babies as bait.
Oh, they're fucking sick bastards.
Yeah. He mentions that native women will flock to rent their babies for 6 cents per day, and some would not even insist on a guarantee of their safe return.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that some crocodiles did in fact get away with the bait. The officer claimed to have shot more than 100 crocodiles using just one baby girl as bait.
Oh, a baby girl.
This is it. This was the method they used.
Oh, did they ever? Because I saw rope round them, but they were like on a riverbank, like in a bit of a hollowed area on a riverbank, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking like the crocs are coming up and then they're shooting them before they get there. That's
actually what was occurring.
Yeah, so eating like a rope and fishing with the baby.
They weren't fishing with the baby. What they said was that in popular accounts, time and time again, I've read quite a lot of accounts. I won't cover them all word for word here. But what they were basically saying was that they'd see crocodiles about listlessly, sort of like sitting in the rivers and things, and they couldn't find any way to actually sort of like tempt the crocodiles out of the water. They were told by natives to say, like, oh, I'll tell you something that really tempts a crocodile out of the water.
Nice baby.
A nice fat baby. Fatter the better.
Oh my
Because
God.
a crocodile's a sight predator.
Right.
So, because it's a sight predator, it will literally be looking out onto the shore to see if there's anything to interest
Saving
it.
energy just laid their way.
And as a lot of these hunters did realise as well, that yes, you can shoot a crocodile in the water.
Yeah.
That's not what they wanted. These hunters as well, they wanted the crocodile leather.
Right.
That's what they're after. A lot of the hunters at the time, especially in places particularly like Africa and India. India was a lot more sport hunting.
Yeah.
Africa, they were hunting for to get the crocodile for handbags and shoes.
Oh.
That was the predominant thing. They were hunting crocodiles for handbags and shoes after crocodile leather. Immensely important and at the time, a very, very valuable resource. And what wasn't a valuable resource at that time was black babies.
Oh my!
They were
God.
cheap and plentiful to these
Mother's nearly
hunters.
giving them away. Yeah, just gives a bit of cash. Yeah, if you don't bring her back, it's all right.
Well, think of the mindset of the hunters. The hunters are just saying, oh, well, it's all fine. They don't realise what they're faced with there is absolute crashing poverty and starvation of the local population, where 6 cents is more important than the baby which they'd have to feed.
Doing that, you're going to see a baby getting eaten by a crocodile. Man, how do you go to bed that night after seeing a...
They
oh my God.
honestly did not care tuppence.
Oh, man, that's
and we'll cover this a
disgraceful.
little bit. This is something they'll say. So it's like, this is from the Kilmore Free Press, which is June 1911, right? And this is a headline from a newspaper called The Baby and the Crocodile. And it says, a sailor who spent some time in Ceylon asserts that the Singhalese mothers regularly hire out their babies as crocodile bait. These are his words. Baby bait is the only thing for crocodiles and everyone uses it.
Baby bait!
Baby bait!
I want a big bag of baby bait.
Yeah. You rent a baby down there for 2 shillings a day. Of course, the thing isn't cruel as it sounds. No harm ever comes to the babies, or else the mothers wouldn't rent them out. The babies are simply set on the soft mud bank of a crocodile stream, and the hunter lies hid near them, a sure protection. The crocodile is lazy. He basks in the sun in midstream. Nothing will draw him to the shore where we can pot him, right? But set a little fat naked baby on the bank.
I can't believe I'm hearing these.
Yeah. Set a little fat naked baby on the bank, and the crocodile soon rises up. In he comes, a greedy look in his dull eyes. And then you open fire. Some Congolese women make as much as 8 shillings a week out of renting their babies for bait.
Jesus. A little fat naked baby?
Yes.
Oh, how can you even write those words?
And this is from the Roanoke Times of 1890, right?
Oh, wow.
And this is titled Babies for Crocodile Bait. Babies wanted for crocodile bait will be returned alive, says a Ceylon paper. If newspapers abounded in Ceylon as much as crocodiles do, advertisements worded like the foregoing would be common in their wanted columns. As it is, the English crocodile hunter pays to secure his baby by personal solicitation. He is often successful, for Ceylon parents, as a rule, have unbounded confidence in the hunters and will rent their babies out to be used as crocodile bait for a small consideration. Ceylon crocodiles suffer greatly from ennui, which means they're lazy and sluggish.
All right.
They prefer to lie quite still, soothed by the sun's glittering rays, and while away their lazy lives in meditation. But when a dark brown infant with curling toes sits on a bank and blinks at them, they throw off their cloak of laziness and make their preparations for a delicate morsel of Ceylonese humanity. When the crocodile gets about halfway up the bank, the hunters, concealed behind some reeds, open fire, and the hungry crocodile has his appetite and life taken away. At the same time, the baby being brought home safely to its loving mama.
Oh yeah, we're fucking all safe. Imagine that, South Bank all day, nud, and a crocodile's creeping up on you, then someone is blowing its brains out all day long. Then he's going, he's unharmed, look, he's still got his legs and stuff. Sweet dreams, little baby. Fucking hell, crazy bastard.
Mad, innit?
Yeah, I've got a crazy one, and oh man, this is crazy. Right, in Second World War in Burma, Japanese are proper holding the mangrove swamps or something. There's fucking hundreds of thousands of them, and they're doing really well. They pushed Britain out. We got his ass spanked and we ran off, you know what I mean? And they're just entrenched in this mango swamp, and they're just living off the land, eating everything Japanese, you know what I mean? They're just complete, like, locusts. We regroup.
Bit racist.
Right, just like any army, innit? You know, any army's going to eat everything that's round them, you know what I mean? So any kind of wildlife, they're just bloody cooking every night. English regroup, you know what I mean? And we suddenly turn the offensive and start pushing them really quickly back. Yeah. They turn tail like, oh my God, we've blown it. Run, boys, run.
What the Japanese do?
Japanese go straight back into the mango swamps. But what they hadn't realised, that they've been eating everything in there. All the crocodiles have been going hungry.
Oh, really?
In one day, 1,000 Japanese get eaten.
Really?
The noise was supposed to be the most worst noise in the world. It would just crack, you know, chase and crack, bang, 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 and then just...
you're just hearing monsters on the hunt in there.
Just literally these screaming, whirling...
I need to look into that.
It's mad, isn't it? It's a really good story. Like,
that reminds me a little bit of like the Roman legion that were hunted by the Vikings into a forest. This massive legion went into a forest and never came out.
Wow.
Maybe that'll be quite a good little subject. Missing troops kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's the scale of it, but it's suddenly not against humans, you know, it's against monsters, isn't it? It's like, wow.
Again, a little bit like the Vietnamese rock apes.
Yeah,
a bit
definitely.
like that, you know.
Fascinating.
But it's. I'm going to look into that.
Yeah.
It's a good little another little Benny tidbit.
Get a bit off that telly.
Well, I didn't realise Columbo covered that.
Deleted scenes, our kid.
The Vietnamese went in
He was there.
Japanese went in there.
But the thing is, this happened time and time again throughout Africa, throughout India, throughout Ceylon, all these places, wherever you found yourself were needing sort of...
baby bait.
Needing alligators or needing crocodiles, there went babies.
Wow.
But there was like in a newspaper report from the Washington Times in 1908, right? So we're getting in a little bit more sort of almost like a living memory kind of thing in 1908. You know, it's like, you know. And what they're saying is that in the New York Zoological Gardens, they had a large sort of a crocodile or alligator kind of exhibition in there. They put all the alligators, crocodiles all together, you know what I mean? And it's like they put them all into one sort of thing. But all the people coming out and have a little look, you know what I mean? Seeing it. Big complaint was, well, in this big enclosure, we can't see them. Because what do alligators...
basking in the
sun. They're all basking in the sun. They're all sort of like underwater. They're all basking in the sun.
Bring out the brown babies.
What they didn't realise is they'd heard about the rumour that this would work. They'd heard about this rumour that this would work. Thinking, well, what is it? Everyone's discussion, they're all involved. They're all thinking, shit, we've got this amazing exhibition. We want to show off people. We're getting nothing but complaints. What the hell can we do? So on this particular date, next thing you know, they chucked two black children, into the enclosure, toddlers.
Oh, God.
They hadn't quite got it right. They had no hunters.
Oh, my God.
They had nothing like this. They just thought, we need a couple of black babies. Wherever they got them from, they managed to procure two black children, little babies. Lobbed them in the enclosure to see what would occur. So, for the next few hours, the spectators had a wonderful sight of these two small black children
getting chased by all them crocs.
Yes, by about 25 crocodiles. Chasing around. These kids are running around, avoiding them, jumping over them, getting all over the place.
Jesus.
Can you fucking imagine this?
That's like it is a nightmare, isn't it? That is like an absolute stinking nightmare.
The crowds were loving it. They were whistling, laughing, applauding.
Yeah, one's fallen over. Yeah. Jesus.
All they saw was absolute sport. It was like something from the Roman Colosseum.
Did they get eaten?
No, they got away.
Oh, thank God.
These two, but can you imagine how scarred those poor kids are now?
Oh, my God.
And
see you tomorrow, kids.
Yeah, 2 shillings off your pop.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
this was seen as nothing unusual. As far as they were concerned, this was seen as nothing unusual, right? And there was an American baseball player called Bob Gibson. And he said the inhabitants of Georgia used African American babies as alligator bait when, in 1968.
Oh my god.
All the time, up to this time, they were using the alligator bait all the way through in these weird places.
60s.
In the 60s, this was being done.
Oh, what, back in Congo and like dark, weird, middle of nowhere places or?
Oh no, America, Georgia.
Oh,
The deep south of America.
Yeah.
The deep south of America. When they were alligator hunting, they were still procuring somehow African American toddlers and using them in this exact same method as bait. Tie a little rope round them, little nudie wriggly baby on the bank,
Little fat naked baby again.
waiting with a rifle for the alligator to come sliding out to take the bait and shoot it.
Oh god.
Can you imagine?
Can't, man. That is sick.
It's
Have
absolutely
you
bizarre.
been close to them, crocodiles?
What?
Have
What
you-
do you mean? Of course I've not. What do you mean?
No, I went to a zoo once. Oh no, I went to a crocodile farm once. And,
Okay.
And you're like this. You were like in fucking Live and Let Die, man. You know, like yeah, we were like telearching it. Were fucking, but it were real, and you could smell it, and it smelt really bad. I mean, really bad. And you're right, they're all. It was like basically this wooden structure that you walk round on, you like gangways and stuff like that, with little huts, and you could stand in the hut and you could buy like dirty, like off chicken off this scabby bloke and throw it at him. I mean, I was like hungover anyway. It was bright sunshine.
as per.
Yeah. So I'm like wheezing. I'm thinking, God, them Crocs stink. You know what I mean? I thought wooden structure's not right good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
God, if your leg went through, they're right underneath you, the proper club.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are hundreds of them. They're all big fat crocodiles, all lolling around in sun and that. And then you throw a bit of chicken at, and they're all after it, aren't they? You've never seen them move so fast. They're all rolling around and
rotten chicken.
all rotten chicken and smell and that. Oh man, it were horrible, absolutely horrible. But that fear, that vertigo feeling, were really weird. You just thought, if I fell here, what just the death. All your arms getting ripped off and all
worst.
that. Oh man, no, it's the dirty smell.
Well, weirdly enough, do you know, like in that same, and what people might not know, there's a movie, a James Bond movie with
Live and let die.
one of the best ever of the Bond titles. But it was one of the Roger Moore.
I love Roger Moore so much. I love him.
They always said with him, well, we could almost cover Roger Moore.
Yeah, he's got a lot of tales.
Roger Moore was James Bond. Was one of the James Bond actors, and he was always seen as a little bit stiff as James Bond.
Yeah.
But he had this white safari suit and this lovely tan, deep mahogany tan, and he was. Everyone said the only acting he ever really did was lift one eyebrow.
Exactly,
wasn't it?
that's all he needed. One eyebrow.
That's it. So he just had this sort of very staid British way of describing things. And that's the only thing he ever used to do. And I quite like it. I've warmed to him.
Massively.
But because he's this suave Englishman, nobody really thought much about him. But he was reputed to have the hardest punch in Hollywood.
And he could drink.
Yeah, it was a good drink.
Really
it was boozy. It was a bit of a party, but it was because he was suave, he got away with it. But all these sort of like your typical Hollywood, a lot of the British Hollywood sort of hard men and carousers and big boozers like your Oliver Reeds and stuff like that. They always sort of like underestimated him, and they'd get a crack off him, and they knew they'd had a crack off him.
It's like the Lee Marvin story, isn't it?
We'll cover that later on. Yeah, we'll cover that later. But thing is, that there was this one scene. It was an alligator farm in the deep south of America. And there was one of the stunts was to have this sort of row of alligators, and Roger Moore went running over these alligators to get away. And do you know how that stunt was done?
No, because it does look bloody real, you know what I mean?
It was real.
Oh, tell me that was Snodge doing it.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Roger Moore doing it. No,
it was a stunt without a stuntman.
It was a stuntman doing it. So basically, what it was, there was like one piece of land. There was like a little river or stream that had to be crossed, or something like that.
It were on an island, and it was surrounded by water, and all crocs were coming on.
Yeah, that were it. And there was a row, basically a row of crocodiles, all in a row. And Roger Moore ran across from one foot to another, sort of thing. He ran across these crocodiles' backs as they all snapped.
Yeah.
And
God,
he got,
that's real.
and it's real.
They tied them up or something. They're all.
No.
What?
They just lined the crocodiles up by baiting them into one area, waiting until they're all like in a row. And this guy just fucking went for it.
Jesus, I tell you what, the stuntmen back there were proper hard.
Batshit, yeah.
Proper
Absolutely
hard.
batshit.
Wow.
That's right,
That's incredible. That seems mental. You think that don't happen in real life? Actually, it does.
It does. This is it,
Crazy.
Absolutely terrifying.
That's it.
Yeah,
I like that.
But there was just one last sort of one last account of there was a writer called Melina de Fonseca Rourke, right? And in her own book about herself was the story of Melina Rourke. I don't know anything about her really. Just another account on the list that I found. Yeah. And she described an incident where African babies were used by their fathers to lure crocodiles. And the crocodiles I think they were looking for were Nile crocodiles.
God, they're big boys out there.
They're big boys. The Nile and the saltwater crocodiles are the whoppers. I mean, really, really big. So these are the sort of dinosaurs of the sort of like crocodile world. And she writes, in a few moments, though, the children who had previously been ignored became the centre of attention. They were suddenly scooped up from the ground and carried swiftly down to the riverbank in front of the stream, where they were laid in the mud about 10 feet apart. So basically the kids had just been left to play until it was crocodile hunting time. Dad came and got everyone. All the little kids, scooped all the kids up, laid them all down, right? And she says, to my unspeakable horror, I realised that those poor little children, they use another word here, you know what I mean? There's a racist term. Were to serve as live bait for the crocodiles. But you've got to remember, these fathers were hunting with spears.
Oh,
so there was no sort of there was no rifles involved. They were waiting with a spear. But this is interesting, because this shows that these were perhaps the people who taught other British, European hunters. Yeah. If you want to catch yourself a crocodile, this is how you do it. So although we are, as Europeans, monsters for taking this sort of practice to wherever we seem to go, or for everywhere from the mid 1800s to right up to the sort of 1960s. Hunting crocodile seems to have involved little black babies terribly. But this is something that's been going on, Now you said yourself before, if something went horribly wrong, how could you live with it? How could you see it? Terrible sight. White hunters weren't fussed one bit. It wasn't a scene of horror because they didn't see black people as having sort of the same nervous system as us or being of any quality. It was just lost that one. And it was actually the subject and novelty toys. Loads and loads and loads of novelty toys were made, basically referring to, there's a term known as gator bait. It's a term which is a racist term, which it's kind of fallen out of favour because of this. It's kind of forgotten. Forgotten. Babies, because they were just seen as black babies, were seen as so of little worth, were referred to as gator bait.
Oh wow! This is a whole world of shit.
Yeah, it's a world of shit, and you could buy in sort of the early part of the 20th century. You could buy loads of little toys, novelty toys, where you'd squeeze like an rubber alligator's belly, and a little black baby would pop out of its mouth or something.
Weird.
There'd be little devices like toys, sort of things where there'd be a little black baby sat in a box and you wound something, and an alligator would come out and snap it. Yeah. There were songs, funny, supposedly comedy songs.
Oh man, I didn't know it was that bad. I thought it was just in Congo. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Wherever you get alligators and crocodiles, it's there.
Yeah, that's it. It was just being sort of seen as something that was just
disposable.
It's
a bait box. It's just like
this is something. Yeah, and if something happened to the baby, the upside was that they wouldn't have to feed it anymore because people were so starving and hungry and things. And it was just seen as sort of
easy cash.
Yeah, awful business.
Go on, little fat baby.
This racist slur, right? It's an awful. It's a term which is sort of almost seen in weirdly enough, almost seen as a comedy phrase. Now, I don't usually say stuff like this, but I'm going to use this one phrase, right?
Oh my God, don't!
For a simple reason, the term that is used here and time and time again is a term called pickaninny.
Right.
Now, this isn't a term I'd obviously use in common parlance or anything like that.
I'm not going to repeat it because I don't understand it.
This is, I also do not know the origins of the term, although it is a reference used in the 1900s and before, using reference to sort of like native African natives,
right,
or native of the African continents, and somebody who has used this term recently is Boris Johnson.
Oh,
Ex-Prime
my God.
Minister of Great Britain. He referred in one of his newspaper columns there, talking about one of his visits to Africa, or like a royal visit to
Oh, my
Africa.
God.
He was talking about the, and I quote him, also, he said something like the dancing pickaninnies with their watermelon smiles.
Oh my God, he said that.
That's
how out of touch he is.
That's how out. This is a man who wants to be Prime Minister of Great Britain again.
Oh, he don't, does he?
Oh yeah. He's up for it again. He's already been sticking his oar in.
Oh.
And this is a man who is already the new Northern Ireland agreement, which he's meant to be going through at the moment. You know what I mean? He stuck his oar and said, "Don't make some fresh agreement. I've already decided how things are going to be." He's already jetted himself off over to the Ukraine to sort of stick his oar in over there. He's interjecting himself in British politics time and time again because he thinks he knows best. This is a man who's so out of touch. This is a man who's so out of touch. He's using this kind of phraseology and thinks it's okay to use it. Yeah,
he is just a monster.
Yeah, this is it. You know what I mean? You can actually quite imagine him there, can't you, with a rifle and his little hunting outfit on
Absolutely.
there. Pop the little black baby down there.
Yeah, the fat one, please. Strip her off.
Yeah, let's have the nice wriggling toes to tempt the crocodilians.
Oh, the great white.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So there we have it. So from your little tidbit from last week, we've got ourselves.
That's a Pandora's box of horror, Arcade. That's what it is.
That's it, yeah.
Just so I ain't done it though. Just imagine, right? I don't know why. I always think they want to see a crocodile. Let's say you tied a crocodile up. You know what I mean? Arms up. It's just like stood up. You know, like on a board or something. You know, its belly.
Yeah.
Imagine giving it a little punch. You know what I mean? What's with crocodile bellies? They look like kind of.
punchable.
A little punch. You guys have a little think about it.
Oh,
Imagine
right,
a
I'm having to think
crocodile
now, right, I'm
stood
having to
up, little pot belly.
So you're
there.
saying so if you tie a crocodile to a board,
Yeah,
and its belly's quite pale, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Lean it up against a wall or something. So he just like stood up a bit, little belly there, and that. Just imagine that. No?
No.
Oh, right,
No,
but we just made I just did that with
the
it.
idea of punching wildlife.
It's on its belly. I don't want to proper hurt it or what. I just like.
Or crack it in the face.
Now I want to touch his teeth or knock out. Like me do. But I'll give his belly a right going up. I don't know why. When we were at that farm and all we were looking at the belly, the bellies are fucking massive and fat. They're horrible bellies. I want to punch one. I don't know why.
Well, I think we need a little bit of a refresher.
A bit of a palate cleanser. Archie.
Yeah, I think that's
we're
exactly
dark.
what we're after. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, let's move away from the heart of darkness.
Yes, please.
And let's move somewhere a little bit cosier. How about a nice Somerset cider orchard?
That's nice. I like Somerset with that. That's nice.
Yeah, it's funny stuff. Is cider though. You know, you get.
Not a massive fan.
Are you not?
No.
Sometimes I can be. It makes me go a bit wonky.
Yeah.
And you've got to be careful. It's like, you know, as a somebody who he said to me as well. Somebody did like cider. A friend of ours who's now died.
Oh, right.
He always used to tip me the wink and say, "Hey, somebody said to me once, he says, you never see an old cider drinker, do you?"
Shit.
You know what I mean? And he was actually secretly drinking cider. He died at 53. So there you go. He was right. He should have taken his own advice,
Yeah,
if you ask me. Though. You
absolutely.
don't see an old cider drinker because it's funny stuff. Is cider, you know? They always used to say, didn't they, about like with the new like when a cider was right. There was a like an old wives' tale that you threw a dead rat into the vat.
Right.
And once the rat had fully dissolved, you knew the cider was ready.
They used to do that.
I don't think they did used to do it, but I've heard this quite a few
God,
times.
that's disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely rank, innit? But when I worked at a brewery, it was I'd said before there, you know, because we opened a tap room there. And I said, look, we've got this great beer and everything like that. I said, but beer isn't for everyone. You know, we need some other drinks as well. Otherwise, people because we're running it as a shop during lockdown. We're running it as a shop first, legally.
Give them choice.
So people coming in, have you got any cider? And I said, no, we don't. But so I said, look, we need to get some. And my boss at the time was he said, ooh, Well, we've got to be careful with cider. Cider people are weird.
Wow, yeah.
Why? He says, all the times I've run shops or anything like that, he says, I've never had to pay for cider. I said, they send you it, but they don't charge you for it. I said, what? Yeah, you watch, right? So next thing he's sending off for some cider. You know, all this cider arrived in boxes, cans and bowls, all this amazing looking cider. No invoices.
What the hell?
Yeah. Just because it's cider people, they're wonky. They're all a bit odd. Cider drinkers, mate.
Oh.
They're all a bit wrong in head.
Yeah, big red noses and all that, don't you?
Yeah, you've got to be cider. Cider will have you if you're not careful.
Oh,
You've
God,
got to be
I'm
careful.
glad I don't like it.
Yeah, but this is about a Somerset cider orchard, right? And it's owned by somebody you might like.
All right.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
I'm up and down with him, up and down.
He's a good Sherlock.
He was a good Sherlock till the last two series. God
Yeah.
almighty, what happened there? What the hell happened there?
Yeah, absolutely
But yeah,
pissed on it, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's a shame. But
So
he does seem like a nice kid, actually. I do
Yeah,
like
that's it. So he's like, but this is from Somerset Live by Thomas Malloy. And he says, Benedict Cumberbatch has been warned to beware of evil spirits at his new Somerset cider orchard. Right?
Wow.
He's saying like, apparently it's an £8.1 million home in Somerset.
How much?
8.1 million.
Wow, what do you get for that? An orchard.
A big house, but 355 acres of land.
Oh, wow.
And an orchard, right? But the locals are saying you have to be very, very, very careful. These lands are haunted lands.
Wow.
And he has to take precautions.
That is juicy.
So this is Somerset. What sort of precautions do you think you have to take over in those sort of lands, right, to get rid of ward off evil spirits?
I don't know why he was Sherlock Holmes. Oh, yeah, he was Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes retired there to be a bee farmer. I'm going to say beehives.
I'd prefer if it was. It's only fucking Morris dancers.
Oh,
Not a fan.
I'm not a fan. I love the maypole and I love all that sort of stuff. When I see Morris dancers,
Well,
I just,
we like the idea of like the Wicker Man sort of style of stuff. You know what I mean?
absolutely, yeah, they're the real deal.
Yeah, nudie witches jumping over
Yeah.
fires, all that kind of Wiccan stuff like that, you know. And I quite like some of the stranger parades that you get in like these things. But Morris men.
All women. I saw a right annoying group about a year ago at Whitby, and I just, when you're looking at it, I was like, give it up, will you?
There's something. I mean, I can understand some of the traditions that they're following. You know, they're also we have to go and do these sort of actions, and what they're saying is like apparently like things like reciting incantations, the firing of guns, dancing and singing to the trees promotes a good harvest and wards off evil spirits. Something I can understand. That's absolutely fine. You know, but there's something about Morris dances that have made it their own in the worst kind of way. It's like they've hijacked all the fun stuff and they've strapped a load of bells to themselves, and it's all made up shit once again.
Is it? It looks like even outfit. You're thinking that ain't traditional. That's just stupid.
I've looked into it, right, and a lot of them say, "Oh, these traditions go back centuries." Yeah. 2 centuries, you know, which is still a long time. No, it's not long enough.
Yeah, it's got nothing
Look, if
to
it's
do
going
with the
back
past, has it?
2,000 years, yes, I'm having it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I'll follow that tradition. That's fine. You know what I mean? There's a great one of a lot of these traditions, much older traditions of dressing up in a way called guising. Which is the origins of things like Halloween.
You've said this, and they come around the houses, don't the guys? For
a lot
money
more
and that.
mysterious, a lot older, a lot stranger.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing that I like.
Yeah.
There's something very sort of safe about your Morris man. Your average tankadier.
Yeah.
There he goes. He's got big pot belly, loves his ale and stuff. He's got his little fucking...
You won't buy a laptop off them, would you? Do you want a free tablet? I'm alright, mate.
Yeah, you won't know.
It's a fucking new I'm alright. Well,
Yes.
you had it 6 months. 6 months too long, mate.
Yeah, search history's all off at shop, you know what I mean? Yeah, there is the reek of wrong 'un, don't
They do,
There's
they really
something
do.
about the whip, there's a rum whiff about them. Which I just don't. And it's instinct.
Yes.
I've no evidence that they've been doing any wrongdoing.
But you're right, his instinct though, when I saw him at Whitby that day, you know, like vampiric seeing a cross or something, like, I want to cross the road away from them and that.
And it's also where they go on about beer. It's like it's like we did the old Morris dancing up the high street as usual, and I might say we did partake in a few of the local brews.
Is isn't it? Are you a member? Is it camera or something
Yeah,
like that? They're
yeah.
all wrong and all.
I'm getting a whiff of this beer. It's a whiff of nonce.
You stink of it, mate.
Yeah, no evidence of not going on anything in particular. It just reeks of nonce. Yeah,
Police.
and that's the thing. There's something about it which just isn't right.
Definitely.
It's got incest.
Has Cucumber snatched? Has he got it in his family? Has he brought the Morris men over? Or?
Well, it sounds like there's not an awful lot come back from Benedict Cumberbatch himself. He's not saying an awful lot on the subject. The Morris men are.
Oh,
they want to invite themselves round. They want to do all the fucking gunfiring, dancing around, hey nonny non, wagging around fucking sticks and hankies. You know what I mean? All that kind of bullshit. And I do say that bullshit. Right? They want to do all that, you know, and they're all saying, you know, to get a good sound. And to be fair, I don't think Benedict Cumberbatch gives a rolling fuck at a flying donut, really. He doesn't care how much his cider orchard makes, because he just bought a house for 8.1 million.
And he's more thinking, just leave me alone, you weird locals. I don't want anything
get out
to
of my
do with
fucking orchard, or I'll set the dogs on you. Yeah, that's the thing. So he's like, no, I would say, I'd go as far as to say, keep Morris men out of your orchard.
I think this is out of Europe. Wow! Where could they go?
Well, this is the thing when people talk about British culture and look at traditions and things like this, all these different cultures, they all look at all these different dances and places from all over the place, and it's wonderful traditions. People always say, well, where are the British traditions? Where's ours? And then they turn to Morris men, right? And I cast an eye over them, and I keep moving on.
Yeah,
Not bothered. Let's
Yeah,
keep moving on for something different, because Morris men, no thank you. Taking a little sort of wander off the usual path that we do, you know, our little stories and stuff. We're going to do quick book reviews.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's only a couple of them, but it is a book which I think I put you onto it originally.
Is it what's he called? The demon one or something? All the devils?
All the devils are here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
My God. You put me onto it, then I read it, and you'd never finished it, did you, somewhere? Is that right?
I only started the first chapter, and in fact, the first chapter's quite hard going.
Yes, it's an hard one to get into, even first quarter, but then it just suddenly picks up pace after quarter way in.
And it's a book called All the Devils Are Here by David Seabrook. And I've had it on my bookshelf for years and years and years. And like I say, I just had a little chip in on the first sort of chapter or so, something like that. And it was a bit like, oh, it's a bit peculiar, a bit odd, you know. But my God, does it get dark and weird?
It accelerates. I've never known a pace how fast it accelerates.
Accelerates downwards.
Yes, to the gutter, and then beneath the gutter's gutter.
Where you thought the gutter was, then you discover, oh, there's something under the gutter.
Yeah. And it's vile and it's horrible.
Yeah, it's vile, it's horrible, but compulsive reading.
Oh, mate. I listened to a podcast about it once, just a one-off.
Oh, really?
Three people together in a room just talking about it, and all of them were saying the same thing. You get a very uneasy feeling like he's wrote it for you. There's certain bits in it that you pull out and think, oh, God, yeah, I've thought about that before.
Was it that book podcast? I forgot what it's called. I forgot the name of the book podcast now.
Two Blokes and a Lass, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's the same one. Yeah. It's
really good, and I listened to that before I actually read the book, you know what I mean?
I think that's what actually put me onto the book.
Yeah.
I think that's where I got it from, yeah.
But obviously they didn't go to the end quarter of it, you know. But they said once you finish it, you just want to kind of pick it up and think, what the fuck have I just read?
Yeah.
I need to read it again. You know,
that's
really
what I felt about it, because I was almost rushing through the book, because I thought, well, yeah, I'm enjoying this, it's okay, but it's a bit dark and a little bit unsettling in places. But, you know, towards the end, I didn't want to finish it. It was just like, you know, I wanted to read it. I was reading it at weird times.
Yeah.
But then I always put it down. I can't stop thinking about it.
And you can't. It changes your life, that ending. And it's one of those books when it's the last page, the last few sentences, and it just turns your whole world upside down.
But you need to read the book to appreciate the last few pages.
Absolutely, you won't be able to just skim to end.
And there's also so many details within the book that I've picked up on, and I just sort of thought that is just mental. You know what I mean? And I really enjoyed it. So we'll let you. Unfortunately, I think the writer only wrote 2 books.
Yeah.
And I think he wrote one. I can't remember which one was on. It was a very odd subject.
It were Jack the Stripper. He wanted to do a further.
He wanted to do one, Freddie Mills.
But they say that he could have been murdered because he was getting too deep into that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
There's a thing that he didn't die of. He died of natural causes, some kind of thing he died of, but they say that he could have been murdered.
I'll have a look into that further on. But I think 2 books, and he's well renowned or well sort of respected writer. But for only having 2 books under his belt, but being sort of rated is a weird sort of thing. So give yourself a little odd treat. Buy yourself and I always think as well, if somebody's alive, buy it new because they get some money from it. Yeah. But if they're not alive, feel free to just get it off eBay.
I got mine up there.
Yeah, that's why I kind of think about things. Is like always if they're alive, buy it new because they get a bit of money. You know what I mean? But as the poor chap's passed away, then
get it cheap.
Grab yourself a copy wherever you can and see what you think about it. And if you did enjoy it, let us know.
Yeah, please get in touch when you've finished it because it's life changing.
And another thing, I'm gonna come out in the defence of something at the moment because I've been having a hankering for the first time in perhaps decades. I've been looking for some science fiction.
All right.
You know, I'm not a massive fan of science fiction, and for years I've been wondering why I am not a massive fan of science fiction. Right? Because I love the subject matter, if you see what I mean. I love the absolute escapism of science fiction.
Yeah, it's something I've not read it really at all.
Well, it's amazing subject matter. It's great. It's amazing flights of fancy, and there's been some amazing science fiction books out there. I've not read any amazing science fiction books for years, right? Yeah. And it's been almost like probing like a wobbly tooth, which you keep messing around, you can't leave it alone. Yeah. And like I read loads and loads of stuff, and I really enjoy it. But there's something I wanted: the utter escapism of science fiction.
Yeah, fair play.
Because we all love science fiction films.
Yeah.
Science fiction films are highly rated. I love Alien. I love Aliens. I love the Predator movies.
Blade Runner. Wow.
Yeah, Blade Runner's amazing. And this is what I was kind of thinking about. I'm thinking, hang about this. All these amazing things we all love. Why aren't people reading more science fiction books when the majority of movies that people are enjoying are science fiction? Yeah. What's the thing? And I realise now what it is. The films are well made, but they're actually created for kind of almost like a quick snack. Yeah. They're not there for something to, apart from the second Blade Runner movie, Blade Runner 2049, 4.5 hours, whatever it is, mental like that takes some focus. But I realise there's a lot of science fiction books. When I've tried to get into them, I bought them, I've started reading them. They're just fucking pulp novels. Yeah. They're badly written, and I'm going to go out there and say a lot of the science fiction that's out there is badly written because they're not rated. It's like good writers avoid it like the plague, any subject matter. One of the ones, the exceptions, I love Ian Banks. I think he's a great writer. Yeah. He wrote things like The Crow Road and The Wasp Factory and things like this. He wrote amazing science fiction under the name Ian M. Banks. Right. He wasn't frightened to go there, but admittedly he did sort of change his name slightly to do it, which I thought, that's interesting. You know, you change your name, you won't sort of pin your colours to the mast fully. Yeah. You know, he changed his name ever so slightly, so he had his science fiction books and his ordinary fiction. But I want to put out a book that is just come out, and it's called In Ascension by Martin MacInnes. Right. And I've only just started it, and I'm already madly in love with the book.
How did you come across it?
It was reviewed in The Guardian. Right. I've been looking for good science fiction for ages, just looking for it. I've bought quite a lot of books, bought them, started them, thought, well, this is bullshit. And literally award-winning books as well. All right, I've bought award-winning science fiction, oh, this is amazing, this is great, read it. I thought, well, no, you've ruined that. That's not. It's not brilliantly written. It's just too. I don't know. It's almost like written for kids somehow, and I think that's a shame. This isn't. Wow. This is written beautifully, deeply, and it's allowing things to just sort of develop and occur. Oh, what a well-written book it is!
It?
Oh, it's so good. So, In Ascension by Martin MacInnes, and I can't recommend it. I've already bought other of his books. Immediately.
Are they all sci-fi? Is that just, did you delve
I don't know.
All right.
I've just bought some books. I thought he's such a good writer, and I'm really enjoying it so much. I tell you what, I can't wait for bedtime.
Wow, to get back into that world.
It's the only time that I read because I'm so busy during the day The only time I actually say, right, okay, it's what? I got to bed quite early now.
Yeah.
Because I just I want to go to bed
Get tucked
early.
up with your book.
Tucked up with
Yeah,
my book.
it's nice, isn't it?
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing. So that's my little tip for people out there. If you did like science fiction, a lot of people look down on it, but if you want a beautifully, amazingly well-written book, which is already sort of like an arms around you kind of book, give that a go.
I think it's something you kind of park in your teens, isn't it? Or I did. I think quite a lot of other people do. You kind of get into science fiction when you're young, and then you just kind of grow out of it, feeling like it's.
Well, you're told it's immature.
Yeah,
you're told it's it's
yeah.
fine. It's this. What you need to do is read a bloody good biography of a
I
footballer.
know, yeah.
Fuck
I hate
that. Footballers are boring.
It's
They're kicking a
terrible,
ball.
that.
Read something about that's been created, a created world, because all fiction is a created world in a way.
Yeah.
You know, but science fiction is that step on. Well, that's, maybe. Do you know what I need to do? Maybe I should write a science fiction book.
Yeah, sure, Darky.
Yeah.
Go for gold.
Like I've got time to.
Yeah. Called Space Benny. I've got a huge helmet.
I got quite. Space Medic
From the future.
Space Medic from the future. Right, I'll crack on with it now then. Okay.
There you go, handed it to you.
Fuck's sake. Well then, kid!
Chuffy Nora, you are joking. Again, actually, though, I've had a satisfying course. I'm alright with it. I'm
it's been
alright.
quite a fun week. Again, we've been around all over the place, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, we can't see you ashore.
Yeah. We rambled.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
One
we
thing
did.
I do want to say while we're here, I just want to say a big hi, a very, very old friend of mine called Rob, who I've got back in touch with recently.
All right.
Yeah, and he's an avid
School
listener.
Rob?
Yeah, that's
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
Hey up, Rob.
Yeah. So he's been an avid listener, and I got back in touch after a lot of years. It was a real pleasure to go for a couple of cheeky beers with
Oh,
him.
sweet, yeah.
So I know he's been an avid listener, so hi, Rob.
Yeah, take care, pal.
And on that subject, we've got a rather strange little subject to cover, something a bit cosy,
Nice.
which another friend got in touch about. That's what's put me in mind.
Right, yeah.
This is a mate called Jim. He sent me a message, and he's contributed ghost stories to this before.
Yes, I do remember. Yeah.
So he's contributed to this one before. He sent me a message, and he thought, oh, this would be an interesting subject. I thought, come on, mate, you know I'm already all over it like a cheap suit. And this is the subject of of a darning tool that's been discovered.
Right.
And it's about a year long, so which is about sort of like 8-9 inches long or something like this.
Enough to go shoving up your...
You got it, kid. So this is a 16 centimetre device which took a lot of years. In 1992 it was discovered, and it was thought to be like a darning tool, which is a technique for repairing fabric with needle and thread, right? And they thought, they've obviously just wound cotton or material around it as it will work, No. They realise now that it's got a very pronounced rim and eye.
How big is it?
16 centimetre, half foot, 6 inch, something like that.
6 inch.
About 6
That's
inch,
all right,
but
yeah.
that's it.
I'm happy.
Not out of a job.
It was 24 inch. Oh, all right.
But this is 2,000 years old.
Wow.
Is this thing? And it was found at an ancient Roman site. That's where in Northumberland, right? It's called the Roman fort of Vindolanda. Now, if you think about it, it's been found at a Roman fort where all the Roman soldiers are. Oh, there's been a big old dildo found.
Soldier boys.
Well, who knows? I mean, the reality is that at these sites, at these forts, there was lots of locals. There was lots, almost like camp followers. These forts became like small towns in and of themselves. There was like women, men, everybody were there. And there's a lot. To be honest, the occupation went on for so long. A lot of the Roman soldiers there had never seen Rome. They'd never been to Italy. They all spoke English. For want of a better thing, they were English people. They were English people. And that's the way that the Romans did it so well. Although they appeared places, they didn't just come in and absolutely twat everybody. If there was little resistance, they'd just arrive, they'd pitch up the fort, they'd go high, you'd put the plumbing in, build a road.
Is it Hearts and Minds? Is the new
Little
one
bit,
we
yeah,
say?
yeah,
In
that's
it
it,
seems like
yeah.
they got it really right with that.
They got it right with that, yeah.
Have a nice bath. Look
Yeah,
at that.
that's it.
And one of them where they all fight and stuff. One of them Colosseum type thing.
Yeah, where they all fight.
In sand and that.
Yeah.
With knives and forks.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah. That's unlucky. But that's the reality of it, is that, you know, these areas, everything was going off in those times, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, but really, the 2,000-year-old dildo, that's nothing. Nothing. What the oldest one they ever found, right, was 28,000 years ago.
28,000 years ago.
28,000 years ago.
28,000. Wow.
And this was a team of researchers from the Tübingen University in 2005 were exploring the famous Holzfels Cave near Ulm in Germany's Swabian Jura region. Right?
And they found a squirmy router.
Well, the best thing I like about it, right, was they found all these broken bits of like a pottery, like a baked earth material. Well, it's actually siltstone, it's called, so it's carved stone.
Yeah.
And they're super excited because they found all these broken objects. Great, what we found was
Yeah,
that 28,000 years old.
Yeah.
Put it all together. Oh, it's a fucking dick.
That last bit on it.
Right, and it was 20 centimetres long.
So what's that in inches? Give me some inches, Arky.
Oh, right, so it's inches, it's about 8 inch.
Oh.
So it's only 3 centimetres wide. So
It's not a
it's not thick as a wrist.
Yeah.
But what they found with it is that the object's distinctive form and etched rings around the top are a symbolic representation of male genitalia. Right. So it basically had the old mushroom.
Yeah.
But they said as well that the object was highly polished on the ends. So
Whoa,
it'd been well used.
So that does actually say that, because I'm always thinking, is it a phallic symbol, and they haven't been doing that with it. How do we know it was like used for that rather than just like a lucky charm? But you're saying it's all like worn down.
It was the shape, the size, and where it was worn down.
Ah,
they're saying they're almost certain that this was a used item for that material. Yeah, that's the thing. And that's sort of 28,000 years old. You know what I mean? They have, quote unquote, quote, suspected dildos.
Yeah.
Of 40,000 years ago.
Ladies, you. What are you?
You
like?
dirty mares! You mucky cats! But there was for definite areas, from areas around the region of Pakistan and towards Turkey, these sort of areas, a Mesolithic site in Sweden, in Motala, Sweden, you know, a 4,000 to 6,000 year old definite dildo.
Wow!
So
a definite dildo.
A definite one. You know, well, these are the ones.
It's 100%.
100% dildo. And they said it on packet. Yeah. But as you can imagine, with these things, it's like you said before. Some of them are just like cock-shaped objects. You know what I mean? And some of them could have been just like a prized item, which was so. Even seems quite funny. I think we looked at the. When we're looking at gnomes and things and stuff like that, we were looking at one particular strange character, which was when you took its hood off, it was a penis underneath.
Yeah.
There was like a gnome or a character there.
Yeah, like a Roman one.
Yeah, there
really
was.
Old,
a really old character, and he was seen. It's almost like a Bacchanalian or a Bacchus kind of character. Yeah. Was seen, and it was all very often associated with big cocks, things with big cocks, you know, and the worship of the phallus, you know. Yeah. You know, so it's like, as I said before, Sweden, Motala in Sweden, 4,000, 6,000 year old definite dildos of certain dildos. definite dildos. Yeah. But Hallie Lieberman's research, who's been looking at this, right, indicates that double-ended dildos have a history that extends back 13 to 19,000 years.
Double-ended?
Double-ended dildos.
That is... That's a game changer, isn't it?
So our 2,000-year-old wooden one found in the Roman fort. Fucking go on. Right amateur thing, yeah. And I have actually seen a picture. I ain't got a picture with me at the moment of this, and it's a fucking detailed. This is double-ended dildo, yeah. Very, very detailed. Everything's there, veins the lot, man. And it's very polished too.
Wow,
very polished. Yeah, that's it. So apparently dildos assume a prominent role in the Aristophanes' comedic play Lysistrata, right, from 411 BCE, so 411 BCE, right? Yeah. In a bid to end the Peloponnesian War, Lysistra instructs the women of the warring cities to refuse sexual favours to their husbands and lovers until the men negotiate peace. And to prevent their own frustration, she instructed them to satisfy their needs in the meantime with the use of their 8-fingered leather dildos.
8-fingered?
8-fingered, I don't know. A sort of...
Oh, maybe the length of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's 8-fingered.
That's it, yeah. So I don't know, sort of like, I don't know how it works. 8-fingered leather dildos. I don't know how these work. So it's like a little leather fisticuff or something. I don't know. Apparently, the first literary appearance of the dildo may well outdate even ancient Greece. And the first reference is believed to take place in the Old Testament.
Wow.
Ezekiel 16:17. God reprimands the people of Jerusalem because they took the gold and silver that he has given them and made phallic images and fornicated with them.
Whoa.
Now, if you remember, so when Moses sort of went up the mountain to get the 10 Commandments, he was up there for a long time, and I think it's one of those things.
It's funny, isn't it? They go all that way. He goes up mountain for a little bit.
He just turns his back for 5 minutes.
Have you ever seen 10 Commandments? That's a funny bit of filming now. They're all just like, well, it's been an hour, let's just make a massive door or something on it, car.
Well, what happened was, he was literally been wandering around the forest, wandering around the sort of like deserts for sort of like
through the Red Sea, you know what I mean, all that.
The lost tribes of Israel.
Yul Brynner were after him, weren't they?
Yeah, it was actually, wasn't it? Look at you with TV references. That's all you've ever learned is TV. So it's like basically what happened. Yeah, they've been wandering the desert for about 60 years or something mental like that. You know, they couldn't find the promised lands anywhere. Didn't know any manna from heaven was cast down for them to eat and all sorts of stuff. They eventually got to the mountain, I think Mount Sinai or wherever it was, and they knew that the 10 Commandments were going to be at the top of this. So Moses, right, I'm just nipping up the mountain, guys. You know, but I'm just have to go get the commandment. Nips on up there. You know what I mean? All the people then got a bit bored, melted down all the jewellery, made a golden calf.
Yeah.
Now, they worshipped the golden calf, but the rumour was they added a little extra to the golden calf.
Ah.
And it was meant to be a large golden pizzle.
Wow.
Big cock on it, apparently, right? You know, that's the rumour. And they were all sort of meant to be shagging this golden calf.
Wow.
Anyway, of course, Moses comes back down. Hi, guys!
Catches them at it. Oh, get off it.
Handfuls of commandments. You know what I mean? Oh, he were cross as a wasp, he was.
Cross as a wasp?
And that's when he cast them down, shattered them all and stuff like that. And they were then put in the tabernacle, or they put in the sort of like the thing for the Ark of the Covenant. Yeah, that's where it was. So that was one of the first references of all time ever to a phallic image. So the original verb used to describe this fornication is zana, which is often used in a metaphorical sense in the Hebrew Bible to refer worshipping other deities, symbolically committing adultery against the God of Israel. Wow. So it was also, it wasn't just a question of using a device sort of physically, it's a metaphorical sexual worship of of another thing, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, a bit naughty, you know. But ancient Rome is readily remembered as a place of surprising sexual liberality.
Yeah,
but it wasn't surprising to me. I mean, to me, I think it's always been a place that's always been kind of like that. You know what I mean? It's. I mean,
they loved an orgy, didn't they, and stuff. You know
this is it, you know. But you look anywhere, you will see dildos, cockshirt phalluses, things like little winged phalluses. So there's little flying cocks on there as a popular piece of sort of graffiti in Rome. You know, you'll see little winged dicks going about and stuff like that, which are quite good fun. You know what I mean? A lot of the time you'd actually sort of see this in bedroom on walls and stuff, right? So the dick image was everywhere in sculpture. It was in things, but an actual dildo. Yeah. This is the first one, the wooden one.
Wow.
That's the first one they've ever actually found. So this wooden phallus means a lot in that sense. You know, so we've found stone ones, we found wooden ones, leather ones, we found all these things.
Gold ones.
Gold ones, yeah, but the first time they've actually found one that they can refer back to as a genuine Roman sort of like relic is this wooden one found in England.
That's fantastic.
2,000 years old. Relatively young as far as dildos are concerned, that kid. You know what I mean? But they haven't stopped making them yet, have they?
Just don't fall on it, guys.
Well, they actually, weird enough, they did say that a lot of the phalluses found were even not always considered to be used by women.
Right.
There were seen potentially as an item of torture for men.
Oh.
To actually humiliate or hurt male captors and things, shove
Yeah.
something up their arse kind of
Oh,
thing. It was seen as
God.
something as a humiliation.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just as a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
They had double-ended in more ways than one, kid.
It is sassy.
Saucy, yeah. So I thought we'd leave on that little
On a
bit.
dildo end.
Big red end.
Well, lovely arcade. I enjoyed that call. Well done, Skip.
Yeah, so that's it. So what we need to do now is we need to get sort of Thor and Robo Pete.
Yeah,
so
get
we
it
can
sat
get
winchy
the-
machine oiled
Yeah,
and up.
we can spread the love back there. We can maybe sort of like you can order yourself a copy of that book because you're not borrowing my bloody copy of Ascension. Yeah, I know what you're like. With
I
books.
want to actually
You always drop them in bath.
It's soggy doggy here. Thank you, Arcade.
Yeah. So and hopefully you too will buy yourself a copy of that book, or as well, and All the Devils Are Here by David Seabrook.
Fantastic,
You know what I mean?
fantastic.
So and until the next episode, it's going to be a big bye bye from Mark.
It's a bigger bye from Bennett. Take care, guy.
There are 3 ways you may contact Kraken Cove. Either by email at krakencovepodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter at Kraken Cove, or Instagram at Kraken Cove Pod. Ha ha!